All right, so hello and welcome to World War II. What similarities and differences there were in the methods of governments used to conduct war. So in class, most of us started to look at this political cartoon. So if you have not seen this political cartoon in class, I would advise you to pause the video now so that you can take a second to answer A, B, and C before the answers come out. All right, so here are the answers. And again, if you want to look more into these answers, we see the bear with the communist Russian symbol on it, and then we have an exhausted looking, terrified, maybe even Adolf Hitler there with his foot into the bear trap that says Stalingrad. The key thing here, this is important, is the Allied victory that's crucial to defeating Germany and the start to end the World War II on the European front. So, during World War II, governments railed on their resources in the war effort. The call to intense nationalism, as illustrated in Winston Churchill's speech in the British House of Commons, was part of the concerted policies that used all forms of communication to mobilize the population. Appeal to ideology beliefs, including fascism and communism, dominated daily life during the conflict and minimized resistance to militarism. Governments also used new military technologies and tactics, including the atomic bomb and total war, disregarding previously accepted laws of war. These policies increased the level of wartime casualties. As we see here in Germany, they had the common ground of fascism and allied with Italy. And then there was also the pact between the German-Soviet non-aggressive pact on August 23rd of 1939, where the two nations pledged not to attack one another. And also, during the negotiations, Hitler secretly offered Stalin control of eastern Poland and the Baltic states if Stalin would stand by during the German invasion of western Poland. So, with that pact, and with him allied with the fascist Mussolini in Italy, we have the invasion of Poland. And that was what got the Allied forces, Britain and France, to join the war, because he had already taken over the Rhineland area, the area that was taken away during the Treaty of Versailles, as well had taken over Austria and Czechoslovakia as well. And moving on after the conflict over Poland, Germany uses the Blitzkrieg, the lightning war, which is a quick subdued Poland and as well into France. Now, the Battle of Britain in Europe. Britain was the last major holdout against Nazi power, and in July 1914, Hitler would order a large campaign against the small island nation by the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force. He believed that bombardment from the air would sufficiently weaken the country so that German sea and land forces could mount a successful invasion. Initially targeting the military bases in the Battle of Britain, the Germans turned to bombing British cities after the British Royal Air Force conducted a raid on Berlin. Winston Churchill termed this Britain's finest hour, as the civilian population in London and other cities withstood most of the relentless bombing. The targeting of cities did provide one advantage for Britain. The British military was able to rebuild after the earlier raids on its bases. Ultimately, Britain's superior planes and radar system allowed it to destroy the German planes faster than they could be replaced. By May 1941, Hitler was forced to postpone indefinitely any attempt invasion in Britain. So with that being said, Adolf Hitler turns his war effort onto the Soviet Union, turning east to attack the Soviet Union to eliminate the Bolshevism, and to create Lebensraum, that land for settlement and development for the German people. So let's take a look now at Japan. Japan, originally started to attack into China with its army, created the puppet state in Manchuria. Then the eye-opener for the rest of the world was the rape of Nanking, which showed the world that Japan was a real threat. And then got lots of victories in the Pacific. It launched a surprise attack on the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii on December 7th, 1941, destroying much of the U.S. Pacific Fleet. Japan then seized the Philippines, the Dutch East Indies, British Malaya, Burma, and numerous Pacific islands. Japan believed that the surprise attack and the damage to the U.S. Pacific Fleet would prompt the United States to negotiate a settlement favorable to Japan immediately. Instead, U.S. isolationism disappeared overnight. Public opinion demanded retaliation against Japan. Great Britain and China joined the United States in the fight against Japanese aggression. The war truly became global within days. The Pacific, theater. We have, after Pearl Harbor and the acquiring of all of Southeast Asia practically, we have the Battle of Midway Island. This is the destruction of 4 Japanese aircraft carriers by the Allied Navy forces, are demonstrating their superiority in the Pacific. These battles stopped the advance of the Japanese. The Allied forces in the United States used a strategy called island hopping. The Allies attacked islands where Japan had the greatest human cost, moved through the Philippines, getting closer to Japan itself. Technological was a critical Allied success. The development of fleets of aircraft carriers, ships that allowed planes to take off from the land on their deck at sea, provided air support for battleships, and increased the range and flexibility of naval forces. And the United States, it was said that they were to create a new one of these aircraft carriers once a month because of all the resources and industrialization that they had, which was huge. They ended up having a fleet of 90 of these ships here, these aircraft carriers. Now moving to the last years of the war. The Allied success of 1942 put the Axis powers on the defense in 1943.